Hey there, Space Center reporter, and I am joined by none other than the mythical, the legendary, the freshman astrophysicist, Amore Hodges. Amore, welcome to Spaceflight Insider Live.
Well, thank you.
Now, Amore is one of our great folks, and if you see the whole background rattling, that's not an earthquake. We just have very, very, very high winds here at the Cape. We're at the ITEL Causeway, right across from Cape Canaveral Space Launch Complex. Staying pretty strong. It is overcast. And I am joined by none other than the mythical, droplets, the legendary, like a little drop, the freshman rain. We are hearing that astrophysicist range is currently red for weather for today's launch. Amore, welcome to Spaceflight Insider Live.
Well, thank you.
Now, Amore is one of our great folks.
So,
and
getting back to the awesomeness that is
the whole background rattling, actually not an earthquake. We just have very, very, very high winds here at the Cape Technology now, Causeway, right across
long-time
followers of Space Launch partners. We work to get their interns out to the great, awesome stuff like seeing launches today, and they in turn help us tell the story to you, our good viewers. Now, Amore, what's up? Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get to be, an astrophysicist, and how did you get to come to work for Spaceflight Insider?
Well, I am originally from St. Louis, Missouri, so unlike Florida, it is not as humid and it's not as hot right now. I think winter might have just ended last week. I think there might have been snow in Missouri last week. So this is actually pretty nice change to have nice warm weather, except for rainy days, as all Floridians know. But I became an astrophysicist because my middle school teacher basically gave us a project on Stephen Hawking and Carl Sagan, and I just kind of fell in love with space and science and mostly black holes and stars from that point forward. I was like one of those nerdy kids that would be on Friday night that was researching black holes and stars night instead of, hanging out all the time.
Quick question, did your parents encourage you to get you into that, or was that just something that kind of you found you had a love for it and you took it up on your own?
It was a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad, he was a doctor, and my mom is a professor right now. So they pretty much encouraged me in whatever I wanted to pursue. And so when I was in science, they really encouraged me to go into science online. Actually, my mom, she would read theoretical physics books, and I would take her books. Also read them at 7th grade. I had no idea what I was reading,
I
but
bet
I
you
enjoyed
intimidated
it.
the heck out of your classmates. They're like, oh, there goes the curve. There goes the curve.
Oh, the curve is dead. It was kind of like that throughout school. Like I remember there was a point in I think it was like my 8th grade class, and my teacher wouldn't let me answer any questions.
You were that kid?
Yeah, I was one of those kids.
Anyone except Hodges. Hodges, get your hand down.
Exactly.
Jimmy, you, the kid that picked your nose. You answer this question. Hodges, I'm watching you.
Pretty much, yeah.
So now you're a freshman at Florida Tech.
Yeah.
And we can't call them FIT because that's apparently the Fashion Institute of something.
Sure,
So
something
when
like
we partnered with Florida Tech, they're like, okay, you can call us Florida Institute of Technology or Florida Tech. We call it FIT. And I'm like, everybody calls you FIT. Yeah, but not you. So how did you get to come to FIT?
That's actually a funny story. I didn't really know about FIT until like December of my senior year of high school.
Right.
I intended to going on to a different school at that time, and I was deferred, so we started looking up different stuff, and I was interested in going to astrophysics.
Deferred.
Yeah, deferred. So it wasn't a rejection because I actually ended up getting accepted later on.
Okay.
So they're like, because I applied for early decision.
Okay.
And so they said that not right now. Like,
But we'll come back to you.
We'll come back to you, yeah.
Okay.
And so we were searching up different schools, and we came across, I think it was Dr. O'Shea's, his podcast online, and we started looking into that, and then we found Florida Tech, and we were like, oh my god, this is so close to the Space Coast. It's right next to, the Kennedy Space Center.
It's nothing to the fact about all the beaches, Sebastian
yeah,
Inlet, Vero.
This was the only warm school I applied to.
The only warm school?
Yeah.
What are the others, like zombie schools or something?
Yeah, it was all cold. Every place, like, right now, if I went anywhere else, it would be snowing right now.
This is the only warm school that I applied to. All the rest of them are like some ice age.
Yeah,
You got
like some landlocked.
there's like mastodons walking
Right.
over them. The only warm school. So, how did you find out about Spaceflight Insider's internship program with Florida Tech?
So actually, my professor, because I had told him before I even came in, I wanted to do science communication as well as research. And so at the end of my freshman semester, the good thing I had good enough grades for him to say, hey, do you want to do this internship with Spaceflight Insider.
Okay.
And I said, yeah, definitely. I would love to write about, rockets and space and science. That's like what I love. And so that's how I ended up becoming an intern here.
So, what have you thought so far about working for us? I know you've written I think 3 or 4 articles. You did the Phil Plate because we helped get Phil Plate with Bad Astronomy. Great guy, just a good sense of humor, and really can relay the important aspects of space exploration in the way that we want to, in the way that everybody can understand. And we helped him get out on a tour with United Launch Alliance with Delta IV, and Amore was the person that actually wrote the article on that. So, what did you think about that? Is that different than what you were expecting? Are you enjoying? Thoughts about the program so far?
I really love the program so far, and it's really shown a whole bunch of diversity in what you can do in space writing. Because my first article was an article about the RD-180 engine, so that was a very technical article. So that had to adjust to that, to writing something very science-based, very mechanical-based, and then switching over to doing Phil Plate, which is you had a little bit more freedom with the articles. You can make it a little bit more fun, a little bit more personable to the reader themselves. So I really enjoyed being an intern so far, just of how much diversity that you can do with the writing, and I'm imagining that there's so much more we can do in the future as well.
Well, we kind of need to apologize to Amore a little bit because you were starting to go down the road we wanted you to go, and you would do a technical article, you do more of a feature-esque, you would do an interview-based article, and so on and so forth. But for this launch, we kind of needed more content, and she's produced another great article, which I hope you'll definitely tune in for later on this week, where she's actually going to be talking about the Merlin 1D engine, which is right back here.
Behind us.
I can't see anything now. Sean in Canada yelled at me a minute ago because my large noggin was blocking the rocket. It actually eclipsed the sun, and villagers were panicking because they thought a dragon had eaten the sun. But long story short, there is she had to kind of go back to writing a technical article, but that's kind of one of the things we're trying to do. And have you noticed that we're trying to do that? Would you give it different things, not keep you in that one same thing every time? And do you think that's helped your writing?
Oh yeah, I think it's definitely helped my writing. It's gotten me a chance to see different sides of what I could write about, not just going to one area and then almost kind of staying there. But having that diversity really allows you to expand your writing abilities as well.
And you've had to come out for some pretty cool events so far.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Very cool events. I was actually when Phil Plate came in, I toured the ULA base along with him, which was really amazing and fun. And then I was also there for his talk at Florida Tech later that evening as well. And then I get to come to this launch as well, and I'm really excited about it. And hopefully, no scrubbing. Praying for.
Well, I have to say this, and I'm going to get the show right off the bat for the longest time, I used to get beat up because I would say, excuse me. You ever watch Star Trek? The what was the one where they went to go to the planet where God was at? You remember that one where no man has gone before, whatever?
Yeah, I think I saw that one.
The one with the horse that had the super glued horn on its nose. That was Anyway, the one good line in that show is God comes to this thing and he goes, "Bring your starship closer," and Kirk goes, "Excuse me, why does God need a starship?" And that was me for the longest time. I said, "Excuse me, well, this is going on. Well, that's going on," and that's. We at SpaceFlight Insider take journalism very seriously, and we try to tell whatever the story is. Well, for the longest time, it was delay, scrub, and that's what we saw from SpaceX. Well, this year has been totally different. This has been like their Cinderella year because they have launched months. They got the pad abort test up. They got the launch abort test out in Vandenberg. They're going to have 4 or 5 launches out of Vandenberg, and they also have Falcon Heavy, which is going to launch pretty soon. So the story has changed from them scrubbing and slipping and launching twice a year to them launching once a month. And almost, oh no, by the way, we're going to land our rockets first stage and recover all these engines on a barge out in the Atlantic off the coast of Florida. So, folks, if you see a and what we're reporting is because that's what the story is. There's no other reason than that. Now, we're about ready to toss over to one of our other team members, which we are very blessed to have on the scene because he's got 40 years in radio. He has his own cable fishing program. I'm kidding. We got another guest coming up here in a second. And Amore wants a chance to get some of her gear set up so she can record today's launch. And Sean up in Canada, can you toss it over to something while we get these two wonderful people switched out? Yeah. Peace out. Much love. Don't hate the player. Game. All right, Spaceflight Insider fans, we're back with one Michael Howard, the man, the myth, the legend behind Cocoa Beach Photography, and Spaceflight Insider's senior photographer. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the legend that is Mikey. How you doing today, Mike?
Doing great. You know, looking forward to a launch today. Weather is a little gray out here, and you know, the range keeps kind of going in red, green. So we'll just we've got a 90-minute window though today, and we're hoping for the best back there.
Don't ruin the we got the whole product placement behind the chair.
But this morning, you know, we got out there and set up a remote camera stations. What that entails is today we placed 4 total cameras, 2 videos, 2 stills. With the aspect of the video is a lot trickier than sitting stills. Stills is strictly by time and sound.
Right.
Whereas with video, we do have limitation of file size. We have to jog cameras. You know, one turns off while another turns on. So today was a little bit more technical, and as well as the weather. Normally we set out sometimes as many as 15 cameras.
Whoa, have we ever done that? Because I know we set 12, but I don't remember 15.
We're close. 12 to 13, 14, right in there.
Now, Mike, the one thing that I think is fair to say is that's not all of Spaceflight Insider. We have a great team at Spaceflight Insider. If you go down on the bottom page and go to our team page, you can see you'll see gaggles of good, loyal folks that are contribute on a daily basis to making all the different things that we do possible. And in terms of photography, we have 4 stations for Spaceflight Insider, 4 video stations for Spaceflight Insider. Then you have 2 of your own private ones.
Yes.
And then Mike Deep, our webmaster and remote specialist, he's the guy that handled a lot of the technology behind our remote cameras.
Mm-hmm.
He has 4 of his own.
And Jared has 2.
Jared has 2.
And Bill has 2, I believe.
But I think his are video. But anyway, long story short is we come out, we're monster. I mean, everybody else is just eclipsed by the enormity of awesome that is Spaceflight Insider, because we really have just tried to make this kind of like a family effort. Pardon me, too much caffeine in one day. Now, talking about the images that these cameras get, and Sean, I believe you have some of these images you can show our guests. To give you an idea of what it's kind of like on a good day, because this morning can't quite qualify because it was kind of overcast, but Sean's going to be showing you an image, and why don't you walk through, guess what they're seeing right now in that first image?
Okay, on image 1, this was, if memory serves, this is the past CRS SpaceX launch.
CRS-6.
And CRS-6. And what you see there is the proximity to the rocket with our remote cameras. As you can see, we're probably about a football field or so from the actual rocket in this scene. And with these cameras, again, obviously you can't be there. So they are all remotely operated by sound. The engines fire up, the cameras wake up, and they start taking the pictures. With the intensity of a rocket launch, especially with this Falcon 9, you can feel it from our location here at the media site. You can feel the shockwave and the aspects of the rocket.
We're like what, 2 miles away here?
About 2 miles.
Not quite. I think about 2 miles. Maybe a little over 2.6. I think. So what we do is we come in the morning, we set up the things, and it's funny. Like I was talking about, I think Amore earlier. It basically I go out and whatever you guys need is what I provide. Like when we go out to the pad, Mike is in charge. I'm the senior editor. I'm the owner, founder, whatever. It doesn't matter. He says, look, grab those things, set them up there. And to me, I don't see how anything comes together, because I'm just lifting heavy things, and I'm a little guy, so I'm falling all over myself trying to set these things in the right place. And then these guys will go up behind me, and they'll open up the back end of the camera, and they'll start. Well, you walk them through that.
Yeah, what happens is, we have to, as far as the still cameras goes, we're setting up sometimes as much as a day or 12 hours or so ahead of what the launch actually is, because certain launches we have certain clearances to get in, get set up, get out. So we're guessing. We have to take a logical approach to what the weather conditions and stuff are going to be a day from now, 12 hours from now. So we set up the cameras for those criteria. Video, it's a little different. Video, it's on its it exposes the video. Like standard.
Now let's talk real quick about video. Video isn't like stills, because you kind of have to. The cameras we use, T2Is. They basically, we can program them, come on, shoot video for how long?
30 minutes tops.
30 minutes tops, and they can't go any beyond that. So because of an hour and a half long
window. Yeah, we're actually setting up 2 cameras that will jockey each other. One will, as it's turning off, the other will be coming on, and when that one turns off, the first one will come back on. So that in a perfect world, we'll still get video from one of the 2 bodies.
And that is if we get everything to work. So, folks, you might see, like we did for GPS 2F9, like we did for CR6, an amazing video package produced by none other than our legendary Bill Jellin up in Frozen. Where is he at again? Ohio. God. Well, I mean, hey, Glenn comes from Ohio, John Glenn. So, Shawnee, how about you throw to the second picture so we can see what we can? I think the second one is actually a pad.
Yep, the second image is actually from approximately the same location within the perimeter area of the SpaceX setup area, and you can see the actual, the liftoff itself, and the intensity of the smoke coming out of the flame trench, and with the aspect of the sound. The cameras wake up almost instantaneously at the first aspect of ignition. And this shot here, if I had to take a guess, is maybe about 5 seconds in. It's just a guess without looking at the...
And one of the things that you can see in that picture is that there's only normally you want that. It's gone into the frame a little bit. You got the nice fire underneath it. You got the plume. You got the shock and awe. Well, you don't always get that, especially with SpaceX launches, because there's a rather limited field we're allowed to set up in. And a lot of times the plume will come up and obscure your shot, and you don't get
you get smoke.
You get nothing. You get smoke, and that's what you got, and that's kind of what you're seeing in this image. Now the third one is
that is from our location right now.
We're seeing here, and that's with your big dog daddy lens.
That's a 300 millimeter from here, and
yeah,
the ITL Causeway. We are just south, about 2 miles south of the
Space Launch Complex 40.
Yep.
And it's fairly close. I mean, you can see staging from here, and you can see all the goodness of launch. But there is a low cloud, so I don't know how long we're actually going to see the rocket take to the skies. But ITL is a great spot. The VAB, the Vehicle Assembly Building.
Spot.
Yeah, they're 2 of the best places. And for these non-NASA missions, this is where we always come at. Now the last one, isn't it the one I grabbed this morning?
This looks like from this morning's remote camera setup.
Oh, it's Carlton's?
This is Carlton's. Okay. Carlton is one of our other photographers, and he's been photographing launches for the better part 30 years.
Yeah, since Apollo, right?
I believe so.
Since Apollo, and he's worked for Boeing or Lockheed, maybe both. I don't know, but he photographs for Aviation Week in Space Technology, and he's one of our contributors. So this guy is a legend. He's got images that are in the Smithsonian right now, and he contributes to Spaceflight Insider. It's one of those things that really is kind of humbling to see the quality level of the people that want to come work and show the goodness that we got going on.
So you can see the sky conditions. This morning's setup was out. This is about 8:30, 9 o'clock this morning. I would, if I recall, and about 8:30 this morning. So the sky conditions haven't changed much at all.
Maybe a little worse.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, a little worse probably.
It was. I mean, it almost looked at one point like the sun was going to peak out, but it just couldn't muster the muscle through this weather. And we're hearing that I think weather conditions are like 60% chance of go today, or is it
60 go? Yeah.
60 go, but tomorrow that's going to drop to like 30. There's a front that's actually in Louisiana right now, and it apparently is going to be on top of us at that time. But getting back into the subject of cameras and video equipment and all that good jazz, Spaceflight Insider was very, very, very fortunate last year to have a bunch of great folks contribute to our Kickstarter campaign, and bam, we got the remote cameras, and you guys since EFT1 what those cameras have been able to produce. And we waited a little while because we wanted to get a few more launches under our belt, and we wanted to have more to offer to those people that contributed that. But we've already contacted all the folks that contributed to our Kickstarter campaign, and they're going to be getting their rewards fairly soon. In fact, Mike Howard's going to be shipping those out. Well, this year we're working on something a little bit more, because I talked to Mike at length. Mike is kind of our my business partner. He's the one that I have long discussions with, and I scream and I yell and I cry like a little girl, and then I curl up in a ball and suck my thumb. And one of the things that we did in the first year, which I would never ever do again, is have all these major projects. A lot of people have commented, well, wow, you really have gotten a lot fast. And my answer is like, yeah. And I wish I never did that, because in the first year we had 14 major projects, 2 set redesigns. We had the live webcast, the Kickstarter campaign, and oh yeah, I penciled in a stroke somewhere around there. But we got it all. We're having the staff meeting. Mike and I are talking like, well, what do you want to do for the second year? You had all these great projects. And I said, let's get videos working, video from the pad, and then let's consolidate everything else. Wait a minute, where's our second year plan? I'm like, you're looking at it. I am not doing that again in the second year. I want to get a nap in sometime. But we worked really hard in our first year, and this year we are looking at one of the things we want to consolidate is our live webcast. So we're going to be working to host the Indiegogo campaign probably sometime in early June, and it'll be to improve the capabilities so that instead of looking at it's pixelated, it probably drags a little bit. We're going to be working the image quality, make sure that we have a higher resolution of imagery, more fades, more crossovers, more equipment, and more importantly, more bandwidth. Now, we're not going to talk a whole lot about that right now because that's currently in the development stages. The good folks up in Canada and the team down in the United States in the lower 48, we're working on that right now. But Shawnee, we're going to switch back out to Amore for this launch. I think we're about...
window opens.
It opens now. Everybody says, "Well, it's going to launch in 17 minutes." No, that is incorrect, folks. The window opens in 17 minutes, and it might launch then. And then we have an hour and a half. It's different than SpaceX's normal ones, but you got something else for the folks back at home to check out while we. All right. With that, hey, Mikey, thanks for coming on again, man.
Thank you so much.
All right, Spaceflight Insider Brands. Well, we're back. Mike Howard has scurried off to go take some pictures of rockets and stuff. I don't know why he would want to do that, but he's going to be trying to feed us some information about the current situation in terms of the weather. Currently, and I was talking to Amore after this. We got about 14 minutes prior to the opening of the launch window. Now, a lot of folks will get on, and they will say, okay, the latest is they're currently discussing the weather. They're not taking a poll as to words so far as go, no go, because it's getting close to that time in the count until after the weather has been kind of looked at. So it does look like the weather is raising its wicked hand. So we'll kind of see how that. But I was talking to Amore before he came on, and he had to throw me with the tech. What were we talking about?
The Merlin 1D engine.
Yeah. This is really the year of SpaceX. Now, for the longest time, we've been kind of monitoring what they've been doing, and they've made some really impressive strides. First of all, first commercial company, private company to send a spacecraft to the International Space Station. First commercial company to be birthed to the International Space Station. Dragon does not dock; it is birthed. But the landing, I think, of the first stage on a platform out in the middle of the Atlantic, off the coast of Jacksonville. What was that like? I mean, you're going into an aerospace school and you're training, you're doing astrophysics. I know it's a different field of study, but when you're hearing about this and you look at the history of spaceflight, you don't see that. What does that make you think as a college student?
I mean, it's actually pretty amazing, especially the fact that we're so close to like all the stuff that's happening.
Right.
It's almost as if, you know, you're a politics major in Washington D.C. It's the same kind of feeling when you're an aerospace engineer or an astrophysicist, because you're feeling like you're in the first.
Right
yeah,
there.
you're right there. Like I can touch it. Yeah,
it's real. It makes it more real,
It
right?
makes it very real. So it's like almost every time a launch goes off, you can see everyone on campus just going crazy. Like they're biking to the highest place they. Or the clearest place you can see the rocket launch, and everyone's just like, yeah, this is what I'm getting my degree for. Yes.
Now, SpaceX has accomplished what they did via their Dragon 9 Falcon 9R. Okay, well, latest update, recycling to 20, and I'm guessing that is 620, and holding due to weather. Sean in Canada, if you can confirm that they are recycling to a launch time of 620, and thank you, sir. But the reason why they were able to do that was they have these amazing engines. And I got to be honest with you, if the engines really are the centerpiece, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
They're the thing,
amazing.
because they couldn't do what they're doing without the Merlin. It was 1C, and now it's the 1D. And, well, you wrote an article recently about the 1D. Tell us a little bit about that engine.
I mean, it's actually really amazing, this 1D engine, because not only because it's an amazing engine itself, but it's like one of the only all-American engines.
Right.
Like if you look at any of the ULA launches, the RS-68 or the RD-180, those launches have some Russian engineering alongside it, within it. But this is like one of the only engines all-American, and it's also one of its highest class, a high-class engine. I think it has one of the highest thrust ratios, which means that it produces the largest amount of thrust per pound inside of the spacecraft. So I think it's like 155 to 1, which is really high for any engine around.
I want to ask your opinion now. You've seen the success that SpaceX has encountered this past year, and then you look at Orb 3, the loss of the rocket, and you look at the RLL-10, you look at the Orb 3 was due to an AJ. There's some argument about that, but basically they understand it was a turbopump in the AJ-26. And you look at the fact that ULA's come out with their new rocket, and it's the BE-4 is in the first stage, which is Blue Origin, which is another an American-made engine. And there's a lot of controversy about because the RD-180 and Russian involvement in the Ukraine. It's basically SpaceX's game to lose at this point, isn't it? Because they're in the pole position. In fact, and I've asked the question, I'm going to come back to, but there's one thing I wanted to say that really it at first caught me off guard, but then it made sense. When we were at CRS-6, Koenigsmann, can't remember his first name, but the SpaceX personnel, I want to say it's Hans Koenigsmann, but he was up there and they were talking about ULA's attempt to capture the engines off Vulcan on a helicopter, bring it back. And he didn't. He was very polite about it, very gracious. He goes, he goes, it's an interesting concept, but I think they've got some work to do. And the first thing I felt was, wow, how arrogant. And then I stopped myself and I said, you know what? No, it's not. Because look at what they just did that day. They had almost landed the first stage on a platform out in the Atlantic. Right. And ULA, meanwhile, has been doing things the way it's been done since the late 50s and early 60s. They dumped the engines out in the Atlantic. So, going back to that question again, it is pretty much SpaceX's game to lose, and they really have. They've earned the position that they're at the old-fashioned way. They've gone out and done what they said they're going to do. You think that's a right assessment?
Well, I'd say that SpaceX. I think the most important thing that SpaceX can do is continue to try to be that innovative source, because we have ULA, and then we said it keeps doing what we've been doing, and it works. But if we can get to a point where we're constantly finding new ways to retain rocket engines and reuse parts and continue this kind of phase of just trying to innovate a new way of doing things, I think that's the biggest part that SpaceX kind of has to do. Because we have the government system that works, and I kind of believe we should stick to the way we're doing it with using this outside source.
No, what do you mean, like with the way that we do things in terms of the outside, the government system? Yeah,
the government system. It's almost as if we can use SpaceX as a way of seeing new ways to do things within the government system.
So you're saying SpaceX is a pathfinder for technology, and concepts.
Yeah.
Well, I think it says something when you look at the companies that incorporate ULA and their Vulcan. It takes a lot of, basically took the lead from SpaceX. Let's recover the first stage. I mean, I think you're not off on that assessment at all. So, but tell us a little. I mean, okay, so we're holding at T-20 until they can. Okay, so I said something incorrect earlier, and I want to correct that. They're holding at 20 minutes prior to launch, not at. We're going to reschedule for 6:20. So they're holding, basically, they're in a holding pattern, and they're holding wait to see how the weather goes. The weather has pretty much stayed the same. It's very overcast. There's both low and high ceiling of clouds. I have not felt any droplets of rain. I mean, it's a little less breezy, but they're basically holding in terms of weather. But if you had to point to key things that you're aware of in terms of the Merlin 1D that maybe have really broken up, and what's the word everyone uses these days? Disruptive. What would be the disruptive things that you think are really kind of generating this new movement?
So you mean like negative or positive?
No. Just overall. I mean, when I say disruptive, I mean it's changed the landscape. Let's face it. From 1950 till a couple years ago, when SpaceX came out with this concept, and at the time I was with another outlet, and they basically laughed at the idea. Well, I'm looking at that last video when that thing almost touched down that platform. My first thoughts in my mind was, who's laughing now? So in terms of getting this disruptive technology and pushing the boundaries, do you see SpaceX as the company that is paying what others will try to not only emulate but duplicate?
Yeah, I think it's and not as a whole, I would say, but in certain parts, it's definitely showing a new way of looking at things. Because one of the biggest controversies lately was the RD-180 engine, the fact that we're using Russian-made engines, and we have a couple of governmental political issues with Russia at this time. But I think the fact that we have a company that's starting to kind of move away from that, moving towards all American-made engines, is definitely going to change a lot of things in the future for space. For instance, if you think economically, seeing where our money will go, will most likely stay within the United States.
Do we want our money to go to Russia, or do we want our money to go in towards? I mean, especially considering the economic situation.
Exactly, and it's also showing a way of who's going to actually be the ones to bring more spacecrafts into space, more missions into space, because then we can start doing it more solely as a country. But then again, do we want it to be a solely single country business of spaceflight, or do we want to add in make sure that it stays?
Well, I think in terms of like deep space exploration, international is probably going to be the way to go, because you're going to go to Mars. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah.
Yes, certain elements can come from the United States.
Yeah.
No.
So that's also one of the things we have to keep in mind when we see this, that everything's moving towards solely American made. Is, do we really want it to stay that way? Do we really want to move into that direction, or do we just want parts of it to become more economically stable?
Well, you kind of hinted on something earlier that I think is important to note. Back when the what I call the RD-180 decision was made, it's time we wanted to be buddy with the Russians. We wanted to improve, because they were in bad straits.
Right.
They were in a bad situation. So we wanted, and I think it was the Clinton administration. I could be wrong. I don't have my history book of rockets in front of me, but I think it was during the Clinton administration that the concept was laid out. And at the time, it was a good idea. Mm-hmm. But that was 20 years ago.
Right.
Times change. And they're not only no longer hurting. I mean, they're having an economic crisis right now, but they are becoming more. I don't want to use the word belligerent, but I would say more aggressive. And I mean, they made the comments, right after we retired shuttle, Soyuz epoch. Well, I was kind of glad they made that comment because the next launch after that, I think, was a Progress, did a face plant out in Kazakhstan. Yeah, not so much. So, you know, when you were researching the Merlin 1D, was there anything in particular that stood out to you besides it being American-made that you think is important for folks to keep in mind?
Definitely the fact of its, I believe it was its flight history, like its working history, and the fact that it worked well at a higher rate than any other engine. So not only are they making an American all-made engine, but they're also making a very powerful, useful engine that's actually starting to surpass engines that we've had in the past.
Would you say they're making Made in America mean something again?
Yeah.
Is that a good way of looking at it?
I think that's a good way of looking at it, definitely.
Because, I mean, the great thing about reusability in terms of what SpaceX is doing is this. The most expensive part of the launch vehicle, besides the payload, are those engines.
Right.
And if they can get all those engines back, of course, I've said this on the last few webcasts, especially I think primarily on the SpaceX ones, but if they can bring that back, the cost to launch should plummet, and that will change the game. I mean, is that how you see things?
Oh yeah, definitely. And as you can see, like with the history of like the Merlin family engines, is that they continue to become more and more.
Yeah, they don't rest on their laurels, do they? They're constantly innovating.
Yeah,
and
they're
changing.
constantly innovating, and they're actually making them cheaper each time they're making. So like the 1C versus the 1D, they're actually the process of actually building the engine is now cheaper than it was in the past, and they're continuing to update it as well as we continue on with more flights.
Well, I think, and this is my opinion here, folks. It's all that is. I think the fact that they were the outsiders for the longest time is a good thing, and here's why: because the quote unquote insiders, the establishment, they'd grown accustomed to doing things a certain way. And to be fair, when they first started out, that was the way to do things, and it worked. Well, guess what? It's a different world we're kind of in now. And as much as I don't care who's launching, ULA, SpaceX, Orbital, I just want the launches to happen, and I want them to be successful, and I want us to explore space. That's why I do this. I think that's why you're here hanging out waiting for the launch. That's the thing, and we need to be, especially with the economic reality we're all living in, cost effective. And hearing that they got a company that doesn't do things the old way and is looking at ways to cut costs. So, and at first there was a lot of less than kind comments about, oh well, they're cheaply made and they're not going to be successful. Well, anyone that looks at the 17. And it could be 18, because I know there was a launch last week, and my math is terrible. 17 to 18 launches that Falcon 9's had prior, there was one anomaly, that one engine out anomaly. And the primary payloads, the Dragon spacecraft at that time, still made it to the ISS. So the only thing they lost was a couple of smaller Orbcomm satellites.
The thing is with this engine is that the Falcon 9, the 9 stands for 9 engines within the rocket.
Right.
And this thing can still go on. If 2 of the engines fail, it can still continue with the mission.
They just have to ramp up the other 7.
Yeah, they just ramp up the other 7. One isn't even ramped up to the fullest. Like in the middle, it's a little bit lower. So they all could be higher powered engines if 2 of them had to fail.
So there's the one in the middle, not like a backup, but like a reserve.
Well, the one in the middle, it still runs, but it's just like a lower power. It's kind of like a balanced kind of deal. Since there's I think it's about 8 of them surrounding
on the
that
exterior,
one.
yeah.
So then that one in the middle is a little bit lower powered, just so the fact that the other 8 are higher powered when it goes up.
And by the way, folks, there's something I actually do know about that. It's called the OctaWeb configuration.
Yes.
One of Elon's titles, and he's known for his titles. You got the OctaWeb configuration of the Merlin 1Ds. You got the autonomous spaceport drone ship ASDS or ADHD or whatever it was called, but he called it just read the instructions. And he liked Star Wars. His rocket, the Falcon, after the Millennium Falcon. But I think the one thing that I liked about him, it's the thing you got to admire about Musk, in my opinion, is this: if someone disrespects you, you turn that disrespect on its head. So they made fun of the Dragon spacecraft back in the day, being some folks within the industry, and they said it's like a mythological beast. Well, he called it the Dragon. Puff the Magic Dragon. So there's your mythological beast. By the way, there's a mythological beast at the ISS right now. So what Musk does, and I think the Merlin is a good indicator of that, is he proves people wrong. He proves the fact that what you're saying about me is wrong, not by getting into a endless sparring match like some like myself, like I've done in some of our discussions with some of the folks who are both pro and con in terms of these things. But he says, I'm not going to say a word. I'm going to let my gear talk for itself. And you think the Merlin 1D is kind of his punctuation mark to what he's trying to prove, right?
Exactly, definitely.
Now, in terms of the success rate of the Merlin 1D, is there any one thing that you think maybe you help that besides maybe some kind of the technological processes at SpaceX to kind of allow that to happen?
To allow it to be so successful?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, from my knowledge as just as an astrophysics student, I'm not completely sure, but I think the fact that they are looking at different ways of, utilizing that engine, not just the making of the engine, but how it's formed on the rocket. Because the original design was just, three rows of three. Yeah. Right. And so the fact that they changed it to the octaweb really shows that they're kind of not only just looking at the engine itself, but looking at how can we make the engine more useful in the way we place it.
That's a darn good point, because one of the things that I've noticed in covering this is that if there's a change made, especially during shuttle, it was obvious. If there was a problem with the shuttle and a change had to be made, it would take years for it to get changed. And I was at it for the first Falcon 9 launch, and there was a problem they encountered on one of their launch attempts. And I kid you not, they got a cherry picker. They got two cats in a cherry picker. They're up to the things rocking in the wind. They're lifting this thing up in the Falconizer, and there's this guy, and they got like a wrench, and he's going in there, and it's the day before the launch, and he's plucking this thing out and changing, and that was it. They launched the next day. And what they did was it really put. There's a folks that, well, it's rocket scientists. But yeah, it is. But you know what? It's not as complicated. It might not be as complicated as some people have led us to believe. And SpaceX, I think, has really shown that the space community, it doesn't have to be this hard. It doesn't have to take this long. You have to be willing to take risks. You have to be willing to innovate, and you have to be willing to change and move on the fly. Is that okay? We're going to come up to a quick hard break. Yes. Okay. Sean is going to give us an update as far as the weather and some other information we're hearing about the launch today. In the meantime, we're going to do.
So I'm just giving you a quick update. We've heard there is a system to the west. It is about 50 to 75 miles out. It is a window that appears on satellite as though it will permit a potential launch. So it's not confirmed, and they do not know the pace that it's tracking, but it is, again, between 50 and 75 miles to the west. It's coming over. SpaceX has asked range for about a 25-minute forecast as to when it would hit, so they can get the vehicle back on internal power and run through their check. So ultimately there is a small window again in the sky, and they are tracking it as it moves across. We're going to shoot now back to Jason and Amore. Thank you very much.
You know what? I got to say, Sean, you're almost useful today. I'm going to get something heavy hurled at my head the next time for that. But since he's in Canada, I'm safe for now. But we also want to take the time, since we had a second to kind of catch our breaths. First of all, I want to thank Sean and Bill team at Background Backup and all the great stuff that they provide for our streaming show. We would not be able to put on the show without these guys. Back in the day, Sean goes, hey, give me 100 hours. And now we can stream live of these events. We streamed the QM1 test fire out in Utah live. We streamed, what was the one other event that we did, Sean? It was the, Florida Space Day. That was right. And that was cool because there was a launch that day, and we actually had Tony Taliensich, the director of United Launch Alliance's East Coast launch operations, right before the launch. And he was right there, man.
Oh, man.
During the launch. He was sitting in the chair. It was insane. It's like, yeah, who's the small outlet now? It was like, I couldn't, and he was so great. We've actually had him on several times.
Right.
And when EFT1 was getting ready to launch, I wanted something so bad. I mean, because you need that features every now and again that says, this is who we are. And we actually got to the HIF out there. You were there, of course. And we go in, and there's the Delta IV Heavy with, the Delta, for EFT1. And there's nobody in the building. And we arranged the tour, and Tony comes in, hey, Jay. So they had chairs, we sat down, and we're right in front of the rocket, and we just talked about EFT1 and its importance to United Launch Lines.
Nice.
It was very cool. It was a lot of fun. And, the folks at ULA, they are just so great. They're very accommodating. And that goes back to what I was kind of saying earlier. The people out here, SpaceX, United Launch Alliance, Orbital ATK, Lockheed, Boeing, they're all so awesome. They're willing to work with you. And they kind of look at the outlets and say, okay, who's going to be telling the story? What are you going to be telling? What are you trying to do? And they'll work with you. They'll give you all kinds of stuff. We're working with NASA and Jacobs to go out and do some very cool things, and I've invited Amore to come out with us for that. So she might be the camera person we have on scene. I might just sit behind the camera. I might take a nap. I don't know. Haven't decided yet. But while we got a few minutes, this show wouldn't be possible without the support and hard work of folks like Sean, background backup, Lockheed Martin. Thanks to Kevin Barre. Thanks to Joe Meyer, Orbital ATK. Got to give much love to Brian Duffy, Trina Hellquist, Kay Anderson for their longtime support of Spaceflight Insider. Let's see, Space Florida, Ryan Kobrick, Emma Newsham. Thank you guys. You guys rock. The good folks over the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. We're starting to work with them to promote some of their events so you can get a little bit of the history and a little bit of what's going on now, a little bit of the future. On and it goes. We have just had so much amazing success in our first year and a half. I actually thought we were like a year and 8 months. We're only like a year and 7 months old, which we're like a little infant toddler, you know?
Wow, yeah.
You know, that whiny little brat kid that's the terrible twos.
Terrible twos.
Yeah, we're the one. Yeah, we're the one in Walmart. You know, whenever you got to go to Walmart and that one kid cries like 2 hours over.
Or the one on the plane.
Oh, the one that kicks your chair?
Yeah, the one that kicked your chair.
Oh, yeah, that's us. We're the little brat right behind you, kicking your chair at 30,000 feet. Hope you're having a good time. But no, you know, we're really kind of new, but we're having a lot of great success, and it's definitely a labor of love because, folks, we come out here and we make this look easy. We make it look fun. We go and talk about the launches. We talk about the Falcon 9, which is the V1.1 version, and that goes back kind of what you were saying earlier. I want to get on that for just a second. This is actually the second version, and if you know, a lot of the Atlas V will see the 401, and it's not like cookie cutter, but the 401, you pretty much know what you're going to get.
Right.
The 551. 541, you pretty much know what you're going to get. Delta 4, 2. These are Delta 4 and Atlas 5 launch vehicles. With SpaceX, it's like every other launch vehicle is different.
It's like a new creation.
Yeah, almost every time. It's like they always say, oh, we're going to put landing legs in this one. Oh, we're going to put phaser banks on this one. Oh, there's warp drive on this one. I'm exaggerating, but they're always trying to test and do new things. And a lot of time that the technical reviews that you would really see and kind of wait on, they're not being done. Well, they are being done. Let me rephrase that. What I'm trying to say is if I'm drowning, please throw me a lifesaver. You know what I mean? They're basically they're almost like that little guinea pig with spaceflight. You know? Yeah, but I don't think they. What I was trying to get away from I say backpedaling, but what I was trying to say earlier was I think maybe in some instances, the technical design reviews to the extreme. We want to divide it by the third hypotenuse, and let's go over subparagraph A, subcolon B, and it takes years and years and years.
Right.
And they take a good hard look at the data they have on hand. They analyze what's work the problem. That's kind of what we've seen. We've been to every Falcon 9 launch that's taken place here. And the only one that we've missed, and when I say I mean Spaceflight Insider, was the one in Vandy. That's the only one we haven't seen yet. Vandenberg Air Force Base, which was Cassiope for the Canadian Space Agency.
Right.
You know, and it's, I don't know. I mean, for you, when you come out here, you're a freshman in college, you're at Florida Tech, you're studying astrophysics, you know, it kind of does what you're being trained to do, but kind of doesn't. What is SpaceX? I mean, from a college person standpoint, what is that like? How do you guys look at SpaceX?
I think when it comes to, like, we look at SpaceX, it's that, you know, that cool opportunity of I want to get a job there one day. But same thing with NASA though. So it's almost like you're kind of just looking at these two, and you kind of want to work with both of them. You kind of want to see that innovative side, that new company, and also see NASA that's been going on and on.
Kneel down, kneel down a little bit. You got bad knees? Can you? Oh, I'm old. Hey, this is. Hey, Sean's saying, yeah, I saw your shirt. It must be Carl. This is Fodzilla or Fodzie King. This is the guy we were talking about earlier. He's one of our generous supporters of Spaceflight Insider. And some of the shots you saw earlier was his. He's been doing this for how long? Have you been doing this?
Since 85.
He's been doing this. I thought you were doing this long. I thought you were here since Apollo.
No, UCX were here in Apollo. First thing I did.
Yeah, the UZX.
The dedication of Pad B.
So you've been doing this for about 30 years. You've been doing this for about 30 years, and
launches from the East Coast in 30 years.
So this guy, and I've known him for years, and I formed my company about a year and 6 months ago, and I said, hey man, why don't you leave some of your stuff? He goes, yeah, sure, I don't mind. In fact, he kind of said, hey, well, why don't you use some of my stuff? And ever since that, we've been working with you and George a little bit. I haven't seen George in a while, but he's been kind of busy. But it just, first of all, I want to introduce you to the Fodzilla. If you don't know about Fodzilla, we'll probably have to do an article, a special feature just on Fodzilla, just so you understand. I know you got some stuff to do. We're still hearing that they're like, they're holding for this hole in the weather to appear right here, right?
They're hoping for this weather thing to.
And now Mike Howard is coming over. Everybody sees the movie stars, and they want to be a movie star. I want to be a TV star, Mom. I want to be famous.
They love me.
They love me. They really love me. Hey, bring Fozzie over. We'll put him on the program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll put him right there. We'll put Fozzie on TV. Hey, thanks, C. Oh yeah, we'll have that. So we interrupted Amore. So Amore, what were you saying before I had to grab the Seameister?
Let me think about it.
Uh-oh. Did I throw you?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh. SpaceX.
Okay,
SpaceX.
yeah. What does it mean for a college student?
College student just means like you see this company and you see this great opportunity that you could possibly go for in the future. And it's the same thing with NASA. I think I'm like a little bit more excited about NASA because it's been there for so long, but you're also really excited about SpaceX because it's so new. So it's like
I gotta tell you I'm no longer with NASA. I did intern with them not once but twice. It was a great experience, but I had the coolest NASA story ever.
yeah.
I had just gotten done with the launch. It was 117, STS 117, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Tired because you get up in the morning like 2 a.m. and you're working all the way through. And I'm driving around astronauts. I'm driving around NASA officials. I'm handling whatever. I'm being a gopher.
Right.
Basically, I'm an escort. I go, hey, give me a bottle of water there, monkey boy. I'm like, okay, I'll get you water. Thank you, Mr. Astronaut. So I'm tired, and I'm like, man, I'm going to go to Walmart. I'm going to get me some chicken wings. I'm going to go back to the plane. I'm going to sleep. And I forgot. I had my NASA polo on, and then I had my lanyard with my NASA badge.
Right.
And this little kid in front of me, I got to see the eyes. She's like, she's looking over her shoulder at her mom, and her eyes are like this. She kept looking. I thought, like, what? I got some on my face. What's going on? She kept pulling her mom. And I'm like, I thought I did something wrong, And her mom kind of goes, ooh. And the little girl turns around. She looks at me and goes, Mister? I say, yes, sweetie. Do you work for NASA? And I'm like, for this summer, yes, ma'am, I do. And that was it. I mean, the girl, deer caught in headlights. That's so cool. And I tell you what, I didn't feel tired anymore. The chest was out, I could split atoms and do anything. But it really is something that gee whiz, oh my God, I actually do represent NASA.
Right.
So I mean, it gets in your blood, and I'm afraid that I'm turning Amore into a space addict. But I get the impression from what she told us about her, she was already there.
Am.
Yeah, too late. Sean up in Canada, too late.
Secret's out. But yeah, like
Got another update. So Sean, we're going to throw it up to you in Canada.
Great, thanks for that, Jason. Another update. Still no positive weather, although it is tracking, so it's on its way. They have an aircraft up in the area trying to monitor. They are monitoring for two rules, basically thick cloud, anvil cloud. It is still tracking that it's on the way. They feel positive, but weather has not provided a specific ETA. Still going to be about a 25-minute requirement to have the lead. So when that is known and they have some specifics, we will update you. Thank you very much. Going to throw you back down to Jason and Amore.
Amore is going to have to wait a little while because we have a special guest on Spaceflight Insider. Someone who has covered how many launches?
Far back as STS 114, I think.
Okay, so we're talking about since 2005. So since 2005. Trying to eat the camera now. This is Fodzilla. Now, Fodzilla is well known among the photographers and media that come out to Cape Canaveral. He's been coming out here longer than I have, and he's got the Braves. his radioactive spike fins in the spike fins in the back have shown it. Now Fozzie, tell us, Carlton, I'm gonna hand this over to you so that they can hear you better. But tell Fozzie's story for our guests back at home.
Well, just kind of brought him out here as a.
Well, for nothing else, I was just going to play and screw around with him. So I took pictures of him in front of the rocket one day, and he didn't launch. And I said, well, no wonder it didn't launch. I didn't bring Space Godzilla out. But we can't call him Godzilla because of, copyright infringement. And they have the foreign object debris around here. So our good friend Gail decided we should call him Fodzilla. So he's been coming out, and Space Fodzilla comes out, and they bring little son of Fodzilla, and he's been, all around the country, and he's been to, I don't know how many launches, and I'd say about 95, 96% of the time when he doesn't show up, he's here.
Fodzilla is well known.
Thank you.
So we have even radioactive lizards that come on our program. That is how awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
I mean,
you don't get that everywhere.
No, you don't. I mean, where else can you get a giant mutant radioactive lizard that has been known to destroy several metropolitan areas on your program, along with space enthusiasts and photographers, and even we're trying to get NASA administrator. We tried actually to get Charles Bolden on our QM1 webcast, but we couldn't get him. But we did get Todd May. That's the NASA's head of the Space Launch System. We got Senator and some other folks come on, but these things are they're hit or miss.
Yeah.
You come out here and it's like sometimes it's me monologuing, and you guys at home know I don't like to just sit there and I'm looking up at the NASA screen and I'm telling you about rockets in space. I always like having a guest on, and I was so happy that you were able to make it out for this launch, and
totally.
I think you all need to write in and tell Amore how great she's doing and beg and plead for her to come on the show. I think Sean up in Canada, he strongly agrees because personally, if you have to see this for like an hour, I even said, look, let's just do a half an hour today. That way the psychological scars of seeing this face are minimized. So, I got to agree with you. Going back to the working for NASA thing, it was really cool. I've done a little work. I was with a lot of different groups and organizations, National Space Society, Mars Society, NASA, on and on, space.com, Avweek, but nothing can top when all right, we're getting an unconfirmed report that the weather is still, they're still hoping it'll clear to go, and that the new target launch date see, this is the genius you have to deal with, folks, is 6:53, which is about 20 minutes time from now. Correct, and we're hearing that a GMT time is 22:53, which GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, and EDT is 6. Got that? Thank you. You're amazing. We love you. Yeah, good stuff. The other guy, I don't know who he is. He's waving over there. But when you come and watch your show, we want you to have a good time. We want you to be informed, and again, Amore, we very happy to have you on. You're just at this.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So. You're about ready to graduate high school, and you're coming in, and you're right, I guess, like in the mecca of space. Is that how you kind of look at it? I mean, from somebody from St. Louis?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, coming from St. Louis, I think the most space-related thing I had was the St. Louis Science Center, which I worked for over the summer before I went to college. And that was an amazing experience, just learning how to, talk about space to the public. Mm-hmm. But then, like, coming here, you're just kind of, like, surrounded. Like, everywhere you go, there's something that says space on it. Like, Space Coast Bus, Space Coast Taco.
Space Coast Federal Trinkies, Taco, Space Coast Taco Stand.
Like, apparently, your tacos are better because they're on the Space Coast.
They've been to space.
They've been to space. It's amazing. You
ever had the astronaut ice cream?
I think I had it once when I was little.
And did you cry?
I don't know.
I had it just like last week for the Lunar Surface Applications 5 workshop. That's another one of our good folks, Flexure Engineering, good sponsors. They had me out there and they were giving this away, and I'm like, I haven't had this since I was a kid. Yeah. So I go open this thing up, and it's all this little, and I'm like, ooh, it's Neapolitan. Ooh. And I'm like, it's like eating like slightly not quite as hard chalk.
Oh man, I might have to try it again because I think like when I was little, I ate some like.
I'm gonna get you a box
I would
now.
Eat anything like when I was little, like like when you went to the buffet and they had those weird gelatin things. I know, and I think about it now, and I'm just like, why did I want that? So like I probably like the astronaut
Maybe because it
ice
was
cream.
space gelatin.
Space
Yeah,
gelatin.
it was space gelatin.
Space gelatin.
I beg your pardon? And that time is 6:53. We have just received word from Sean up in Canada that we are the spacecraft, the Turkmenistan. And by the way, that is a great segue. Thank you, Sean. For the Turkmenistan. How many people out there have seen Superhero 6? With the little robot goes, boop, boo, loo, 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 loo. I kind of, every time I say their name, I stutter on it. So it's like, boop, Turkmenistan. They got some, it's a name. I think it's Turkmenistan or MonacoSAT 5. My nomenclature might be off there, but it is Turkmenistan's first communication satellite, which is kind of unusual considering that satellite dishes in the country they're trying to make it banned. So you're not allowed to have a satellite dish in Turkmenistan, but they're launching a satellite. I don't know. But it is Turkmenistan's first satellite that they're launching today. And as Sean in Canada just told us, they are go for hour, and it is looking like in 17 minutes' time we could see a launch here. Now, we brought Fodzilla over for a reason, Amore.
Right.
Tell folks at home your track record when it comes to launches.
So, every time I see a launch, it gets scrubbed.
And what she meant to say is every time she comes out for a launch, it gets scrubbed. So we brought Fozzie over, and it's like that. You know, they do the Hopi Indian man.
Yeah,
they did a little dance.
Yeah.
You put the holy water on.
Yeah, so that's basically what Fodzilla is.
Yeah,
It's like,
let me shake the giant plastic lizard at you.
we shall launch.
So it's funny. You from our perspective, you run into some folks at these events, and they're very, serious. I am a rocket scientist, and I am. You know what? There are some days when you have been working 18 hours straight, and it's in the middle of the summer here. You've been chased by boar hogs. I've had that happen to me. I'm not going to tell that full story this time, but it is coming. The boar hog story is coming. It was not a good experience for me, but you just got to have fun. And why shouldn't this be fun?
It should be fun.
Yeah.
You're launching rockets. Like that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like.
And it's really cool. The only problem with it is, in a way, I want them to do more because it doesn't last long. It's like it launches and it's gone.
And then it's just like, oh, there it goes.
It's like, woohoo! Okay, let's get in the cars and go home.
Like maybe we should have fireworks around it, sparkles up,
It's like it'll have fireworks first, and what do they call it at the last fireworks display of the evening? The grand finale.
The grand finale, yeah.
The launch will be the grand finale. We got some bottle rockets and those little things you throw on the ground, the little poppers.
And then in the sky there'll be some kind of air company launched a rocket, so it'll be like NASA, SpaceX.
Go Turkmenistan. No, but there are a lot of events for commercial satellites. Just so you know that they're like this. We basically come out. It varies. But a few hours prior to launch, and we set up remote cameras. SpaceX was really great today. They gave us a whole hour, and we were out there, and we set up our cameras. And what we did this morning was we were on a very during the winter, I love winter because we have Bill Jellum, we have Jarrett Hayworth, we have Mike Howard, Mike Deep, we have Pedro Vasquez, we have 6 or 7 people. I ain't got to come out if I don't want to. If I want to go see a rocket, I'll go see a rocket, but I don't have to. And really, to be honest, the only thing that kind of talent is get in their way. So I just leave them alone because if you 7:03, yeah, correct. We were just hearing that they are going to push it back to 7:03 p.m. Thanks to Mike Howard, who is over there texting me like crazy. He's waving. Well, see, Sean, man, you need to be down here, man. You need to be regulated. He's got a SpaceX hat on, by the way, folks. And is that the hat I sent you? You need to wear my hat, and I sent you stuff. Care package.
Jason Ryan hat, maybe.
That just says jerk. He said send the Jason Ryan hat, and I said it just says jerk on it because it's me. I love it. So back to work. The producer is threatening to cut off my feed. So with that, we are hearing from both Sean and Mike Howard that they're 3, which is 10 minutes past what they had said a few minutes ago. So I really get the feeling that they're trying to kind of trying to get the right angle for that when that window and the weather is
Right.
coming over, and it's that right moment and that just exact time. Now, if memory serves, Sean, please confirm. We're looking at an hour and a half long launch window for tonight. Okay, so we got an hour and a half launch window for tonight, and if that plays out right, that means at 7:44. You're the genius. 7:44.
Yeah, 7:44.
That's
yeah.
that will be all is done. Now, I know that I speak for Amore, Mike, Sean, everybody that I want this to go tonight, and not because I got Space Congress going on this week. I got the great vets that are have launched missiles out in rockets out here for years at the Pioneer. They got an event on the 29th. And then, of course, we got SpaceX is going to turn the range around again for a pad abort test, which is coming up on May 5th. Now, that's going to be uber cool because you're going to see the Dragon spacecraft basically be yanked off from Slip 40 and go about 5,000 feet and splash down out in the Atlantic. And I'm going to be there
awesome.
covering it live. That's going to be so cool. But we do get rockets launches tend to get a little repetitive. We've seen launch, Delta 4, Atlas 5, whatever. So when the unique stuff happens, it is kind of cool. And we're looking forward to that because it'll also say that we are going to return to the business of sending
Space rockets to SpaceFlight Insider
People,
people.
see?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
She's killing me over here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, it is going to be kind of cool.
Yeah,
because
that's gonna be very cool.
we're going to be seeing astronauts flying on these commercial vehicles.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, that leads up to the next thing, which is, NASA's going to be focused on deep space,
Right.
and SpaceX is going to be handling the business of cargo and crew at International Space Station
Exactly.
with Orbital ATK and Boeing. So, I mean, when you went for your degree, did you're planning all this out? Did you say I want to be a part of that, or is it just kind of it been a very happy coincidence?
I definitely say be a part of helping like cover like these big events, and like I always saw that there was always a lack of people being able to explain these events to people, like what's the importance of all this, and that's what I really wanted to do. That's why I was getting a degree in astrophysics. That's why I want to also do science communication as well, because that importance of letting everyone know like all this cool stuff is happening and you guys should be a part of it too. That was kind of like one of my main focuses of getting my degree.
So like you wanted to explain it in a language that anyone, even a non-space enthusiast,
Right,
can
yeah, so that
understand.
everyone can enjoy the same things. Because I think that's such an important thing. We have a big thing where everyone should watch the news. Everyone should know, political coverage.
Everybody should be informed.
Everybody should be informed, but we also don't push that as much with science. But, that still should be also a requirement. Everyone should know what's going on in space, what's around them. Just literally what's going on around them. So being able to put that in, terms that everyone can understand, I think is a big important thing.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a problem these days because we don't have a lot of people that are involved in the politics. We don't have, we don't seem, as a nation, we don't seem to be getting as involved anymore. But
Right.
for some reason, I've noticed in the past year that people do seem to be getting a little more hyped and interested in space. Have you noticed that from your
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the big things was that I think was it like last year that they had Cosmos on NBC,
Mhm.
and I think that also started getting people more interested at seeing space, basically television about science just on regular cable TV. What you would normally see of your comedy, you're seeing some space documentary.
Well, Colbert and Stewart, they were pushing that a lot. I know
Yeah.
most of the kids they watch they don't watch news. They watch the Daily Show.
Yeah, the Daily Show.
And I mean
yeah.
I think that's good. The only thing that I disagreed with, and I know people are probably gonna be surprised to hear this because I did work for NASA, there should be a section on the station that should not be called Tranquility. It should be called Colbert. He
Yeah.
won that contest fair and square.
Right.
Did the name the Tranquility note. He won the contest. Why are you going to back out? And you named a treadmill after him. Come on. Can you imagine the positive press NASA would have gotten from that?
Oh yeah, it would have been huge.
Oh, it would have been massive.
It would have been huge. It would have been so big.
Oh.
But yeah, but like trying to that's the thing is that and it's why I this my freshman year that if you start with other young people telling other young people about science and space, they're gonna be more interested. It's different. Like, it's like when you're talking to your parents, you're not gonna listen to them as much as you're talking to your friends. debatable, but
Don't
like
talk to those old folks. What do they know?
they don't know anything.
They don't know anything.
But that's the thing. That's like for most kids, you want to like see another kid be interested in it. That's what makes it cool. It's cool now because another kid's interested in it.
Well, I got to say that from my point of view, this is a communication satellite for some very far away country, and guys, you can ask Amore. I mean, you go look all the way down. There are people lined up. There are sat trucks. There's internet. I mean, it doesn't matter for once that this is just a communication satellite. In some launches, I remember there's 7 or 8 trucks that come out. It was like a non-event, but the wheel is starting to turn back the other way, where people are like, we want our space program back. We want to be launching again. We want to be flying again. And it's for me doing what I do. I do this because I do it for the same reason that you mentioned earlier. I want people to get involved again. I want people to talk about space again. And I want people to be on the moon. I don't care what the president says. We need to go to the moon. End of story. Sorry. He's also right. I want us to go to Mars.
Yeah.
I want us to send people to an asteroid. I want us to be able to do these exciting things again because please let me finish this sentence because it's going to start out bad. You're even worse off than I am. I am 42 years old. I have never seen a person walking on another world. I want that.
Right.
For me, I want to look on TV as a person is walking on another world. I want to have tears in my eyes. I want to be crying like a 5-year-old girl with a skinned knee. I want to be that emotional. And when I was here I'm being butt dialed, folks. Bad scene all around. I was telling Amore on the way over here, I've got to fly with the astronauts, S-135, when they were training in the SDA. And so I'm doing these deep dives and going up in the SDA. I got to go in the clean room with Curiosity before she went to Mars. And then I got to see her fly to Mars. And now I get to see this vehicle on another world, but it's not a person. I love Curiosity. She's amazing. But, this is really cool stuff that we're doing. I don't care that Bruce Jenner wants to be a woman. I don't care that someone posted a selfie of themselves on Twitter. I don't care about that. That has no importance to me. What somebody's preferences are, I think you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
It's nothing to do with me. That's their business. I care about us becoming better. And I think even if it's just a communications satellite going into orbit, the skills that are required, technical standpoint from your college,
right?
It's going to make us all be better. It's going to make for a society that's better if instead of investing on the TMZ type aspect of things, on the NASA type.
Yeah, to like start focusing on stuff that you're working really hard for.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not against TMZ completely because there's our artists that work really hard to get where they are, but then we get to a point where like the reality TV kind of stage where you're not really. Yeah, there's no real energy being made by doing this. I mean, there's no real significance to it.
I love Duck Dynasty, but you know what it is? It's entertainment as we're focusing on making the world a better place.
Right.
That's all.
And then like that, it kind of takes away because at least for my generation, you have kids that are growing up and their most important thing of their day is how great their selfie is. But then you have like so many people working hard to, send this rocket into launch, and not a lot of people are talking about it. That's not the buzz. That's not what's trending or whatever. So kind of changing the perspective, like what's really important is something that you kind of have to work a little hard for.
I love the way you said that, changing the importance of what's hard for what the society views as being important.
Right.
I'm going to follow up on what you said there and say, it's more difficult to do that and to get people interested in this.
Right.
Than it is to send a rocket into space.
Exactly.
And that's sad. That's a tragedy. Communication satellite, but it's still a wicked experience. Everybody here and see this. There's nothing like it in the world. And when you do the math and you crunch the numbers, and when you're watching an Atlas V and it's got 5 solids on it, and you're tracking it as it goes up range with your naked eye, or maybe with a camera, they got some great cameras out here, and you're tracking, you're taking photos, and for me, STS-133 would be a landmark moment because it's the only time in shuttle history, and I'll never get that I actually got an image of the solids peeling away.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it's the little things like that, seeing Curiosity, being able to just be with the astronauts and have them hang out with it. you know, I don't know. For me, I think you're kind of touching on the personal aspect of it. Is there a lot of excitement about a communication satellite? It's based off a bus we're very familiar with. Thales Athenia is produced a spacecraft, and it's got a pretty good track record. So we're knowing what we can expect. And if things stand, Sean, we have not heard any change on that. Okay, Sean in Canada, I'm not sure if he transmitted that to you guys, so I'm going to repeat. Essentially, the only thing that we're hearing that is obscuring the chances for launch are thick or anvil clouds. And Sean mentioned this earlier, and I think we definitely should talk about this today. And I haven't touched on it, Sean. I apologize because I'm not as familiar with it as I should be. Oh, he's going to beat me up later. Well, just don't leave any marks where they're visible. So long story short is 13 minutes, the window should open as long as thicker anvil clouds come. Are within a certain range away. And if you've ever followed this to the length we have, you'll see some days, and we're out here, and there's nothing but blue sky. It looks that way. And then 10 miles away, it's an arbitrary number, not an exact figure, there's an anvil cloud, and it's capable. So somebody, some troll somewhere is going to just scream because I'm saying something that is technically inaccurate. Essentially, if the rocket launches during that time, and it's a highly charged, not only but an artifact going through the atmosphere, it's basically a giant lightning rod. Is that correct?
Sounds about correct.
Sean? He accepts, so I'm accurate. So, yes, it could be clear here, but in a distance that lightning can travel will astonish you, and it can strike that vehicle, and you lose a multi-million-dollar spacecraft, the payload. It's all for nothing. So they're very careful. There was one time we had a launch, and people were joking about the high upper level winds. Oh, come on, their silly rocket can't beat wind. Oh, my God, no wonder they can never get anything done. They're getting defeated by wind. Okay, folks, these high upper level winds, it doesn't sound like much. But these rockets are fairly durable, but the high upper level winds, the speeds that they're talking about, would snap the rocket in two. That's how bad the shear is. If you think at 30,000 feet you're encountering something, you don't have a problem at all as far as turbulence goes. The turbulence that goes up higher, it could literally destroy the vehicle. So there's a lot of stuff that's in play that the folks at the 45th Space Wing, the weather section especially, had to keep track of. Because if you think about it, you mentioned earlier about all the time and energy it takes to put into one of these launches. All it takes is one thing to be out of place.
Exactly.
And it's all for nothing.
Exactly.
We are now. We are here. I got conflicting information. Well, no. Now it's confirmed. Sean, yeah. Sean goes, really? Seriously? You're taking them over me? Noted. But essentially, we're T-minus 10 minutes away from launch. That would suggest that the anvil clouds have gotten out of the way, and we are just 10 minutes away from launch. It will come at a T0 at 7:03. So with that, it looks like you may have had your jinx removed.
It's been lifted. Oh my
Flodzilla.
God.
Flodzilla. So, I'm trying to think about what to talk about next. Turkmen. Has anyone? Have you even seen that movie, Superheroes, Big Hero 6?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
With the big
puffy guy, and he's like,
he goes, the fist bump goes, yeah. I love that movie.
That movie was great.
I love that.
That was
movie.
fantastic.
I'm a little kid. I don't care. I watched.
Like all of our friends, like at FIT, Florida Tech.
Can't say FIT because that's like the Fashion Institute of Texas or something.
I don't know, something like that. I think is it in New York?
It is. Yeah, it is in New York. How did you know that? You do know who it is.
No, I knew it because like when I was saying, I'm applying to FIT, everyone's like, you're going to the fashion. You're going to the Fashion Institute. That's kind of new for you, Amori.
No, but
yeah, like we went crazy over them, and we had spent like 2 hours just like quoted the whole movie.
It was
great.
My wife will not watch Transformers the movie, and I know you're thinking, oh well, it's a Michael Bay movie. No wonder she doesn't want to watch the original, the 1986 animated, because I've watched it so many times. I don't the audio can be down, and I can do everybody's dialogue for them. That's how many times I've seen that. The wife and I, we're total nerds. I'm a geek. I don't care. We watch Penguins of Madagascar. Other people watching Final Destination, you know. And I remember when I was a kid, when I grew up, and I'm going off subject here, so I'm in a good mood because we're in the 10-minute window.
Yep.
And that's the terminal count. Basically, they're things are ready to rock and roll if everything can proceed apace. But he will beat me up because I read the Avengers comic book. People laughed at me because I have my Optimus Prime, you know, sitting there in the corner. Well, you know what, punks? Optimus Prime, Transformers movies making billions of dollars, all right? And everybody's going to see Avengers now.
Yeah,
everybody's going to see
Avengers,
Spider-Man. So you know what? I was cool before it was cool.
You are the hipster of comics.
I was the hipster of comics.
Yep.
No, I was just a nerd who got his butt kicked daily at school. I mean, they would just lay me.
Oh man.
You know, and then I, you know, joined law enforcement and military, and then I still got my butt kicked. But speaking of butt kicking, we are less than 10 minutes out. In fact, we are a whopping 7 minutes out of everything continues to go plan.
Nice.
We are going to. Is it just me or is it getting a little brighter out here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're actually noticing a slight change in the level of clouds. It is getting a little bit brighter out here. And we are at a new T0 of 7:03 p.m. Everything appears to be going good. They do have another launch attempt tomorrow, but at last count, that hole that's coming in the weather today will not last, and the weather is actually a 70% chance of violating for tomorrow, so that's only a 30% chance of favorable conditions for launch. The 45th Space Wing, the great folks over there, Chris Calkins, and the volunteers at the Air and Space, United States Air Force Air and Space for Space and Missile History Center. They are out here and they're taking care of us. They're the ones that base information. And I'm looking at Mike Howard, who came on earlier, and he's over there looking at he's listening to the official. He's got his finger up, the finger of doom. Don't let me come over there and hurt you. Don't you scrub this thing. Nobody likes you, Michael. He's ignoring me now. 6 minutes and we're still counting down. Sean says, hi, Mikey. That's so unprofessional. But you know what? Like I was telling earlier, we like to have fun out here. We'd like to break you off some information. And more importantly, Amore kind of symbolizes what we really want to do for a lot of folks. We have brought a lot of good folks out here, giving them opportunities. We want them to come out to see the launches. We want you to get motivated and excited. And she came out here today to just see the launch. She wrote the article on the Merlin 1D and the arrangement we have with Florida Tech to come out here and get the chance to experience, gain firsthand insight on what these things are like. And I needed a co-host. Somebody else was unavailable. Manager of awesome, I guess not so awesome. So we got an astrophysicist. And Sean up in Canada, Strongback is currently moving away from the launch vehicle this time. And what I am going to do now is we are apparently 5 minutes away from launch. I am going to say, amore, arrivederci. She needs to go see the launch, folks. She needs to enjoy this moment. I will stay with you for life with my hideous jokes and my poorly timed comments and my bald head. But having said that, Amore, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We've got to have you back on.
Oh, definitely.
She rocks. Isn't she awesome, folks? Vote in. Tell her to come back. Yep, see? So with that, Amore signing out so she can enjoy the launch. I will stay with you, however, and we have got 4 minutes before the launch of the SpaceX Falcon 9 with the Turkmenistan spacecraft.
Bye. Thank you.
We're letting her go now. She's kind of shy. She's like, I don't know if I want to go. I love you guys. But checking in to make sure everything is on target and looks like we are still good in terms of signal strength and battery strength. And I'm just making sure that we can last an additional 4 minutes. Actually, we're at 5 minutes now. Now we're at 4. Sean hates me. He has to hate me. Sean, I'm actually going to move around a little bit. If you want to throw to something, or you know what, folks, just watch me move. Yeah, Sean's saying we're too close. I'm going to actually move some of the stuff out of the way because we are on a tight deadline. This is kind of what happens as you're covering the launch, and I'm going to make sure that my big wampin head is not in the way of the broadcast. I should probably disappear into this massive Behringer crater-sized hole that is over here, and that way you guys can see something over there. Shawnee? Sitting normally. I'm driving him crazy. Is that good? And folks, as we mentioned earlier, we are going to be working to slowly improve all of the offerings that SpaceFlight Insider has for you in the coming year, the remainder of this year, I should say. We've got our video from the pad operation set and running. So basically, we have everything, the major chunks we want in place to bring stuff like this to you. The only thing that's slowing us down is the pace. I believe there are some 36 launches currently planned throughout fiscal year 2015. This keeps us hopping. We are hearing that apparently the rocket is an internal power, and it looks like everything is still going ahead to plan. With 3 minutes to the launch of the Turkmenistan MonacoSAT 5. I gotta get that on. Work with me here, brother. Spacecraft topped the SpaceX Falcon 9 from Space Launch Complex 40 in Florida. All systems appear to be go at this time, and we are looking forward to a very busy thanks to the likes of SpaceX, because after we're done here today, we will be working with the pad abort test, which will take place on May 5th. Now, on May 1st, we'll be coming out for an event at the NASA Kennedy Space Center where they'll give us additional information about this pad abort test. It will basically see a Dragon, SpaceX Dragon capsule launch some 5,000 feet in fairly rapid succession from Slick 40 into the skies above Florida and test out their pad abort system. And with that, folks, we have some very good news for all of our Spaceflight Insider fans. We are go for launch at 2 minutes prior to the liftoff of the SpaceX Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. We are currently not tracking any issues at this time. The weather condition range is green. We are not hearing that they're tracking any issues, and the Anvil clouds, which were the last major obstacle for today's flight, have gotten out of our way. So Amore, a new guest co-host for today and hopefully for future missions, she's setting up her camera. We're getting all set out here. Everything is going according to plan except for the battery power on my laptop, which has 10%. But that is enough to get us through 2 minutes. Right, Sean? Yes, he agrees with me. He's got a SpaceX hat on. I think between that and Fodzilla, that's really what put Falcon 9 on the board for today, folks. One of the things we really enjoy to do, I kind of hate it, but I kind of love it, is I don't like to really look. I just like to announce the launch, so that's what you're going to see today. No one brings you any closer than this. There will be some folks that are recording out here, and they'll play it back for you a few hours from now. We actually bring it to you live, and the good folks with background backup, Sean Costello, Bill Christie, they're going to process this for you, and they're going to have it out to you in no time flat. So we are under 1 minute from the launch of the SpaceX Falcon 9. Weather is good. Range is green. The launch team over at the Cape Canaveral Gate 1, they are working no technical issues at this time, and everything appears to be going ahead of plan. So we are under a minute from launch, folks. Everything will continue to proceed at pace. And with that, I am going to just... We are hearing that's like 20 seconds out, Sean. So we're going to wait a little bit. Hopefully everything is proceeding at pace. I'm not hearing there's any issues. Sean's laughing at me. I don't like you, Sean. Don't laugh at me. I'm doing the best I can. I have no idea. Hey, look at that. Who brings you closer? Don't laugh at me. I can't hear anything. It's not like SpaceX announces over the bleachers. And now I hear something because I don't... All right, the rocket is lifted clear off the pad. There's a nice plume. And as you can see, the Space 9 is taken to the skies. I'm Captain Oblivious. Oh, man, it is loud. It is reverberating off the cloud ceiling. That is just a little bit in front of the rocket right now. It is about ready to go through the clouds. And that makes it extra special loud. It's like looking into a blowtorch. It is so bright. Oh, the Turkmenistan satellite is on its way to a geostationary orbit at this time. Everything continually looks good. The 9 Merlin 1D engines are firing in a very, very loud fashion. They are sending alarms and windows rattling for miles around, folks. I am telling you, it is a beautiful launch. SpaceX has conducted their 5th launch of 2015. This is well and above what they've done in the past, and actually, they are now ahead of United Launch Alliance in terms of the amount of launches they have carried out. United Launch Alliance has 4, SpaceX has 5. With that, the Falcon 9 is getting very hard to see at this time. Sean had a good laugh on my behalf because he was telling me it was 10 seconds, and I had another report saying, hey, it's 20 seconds, and I can't really see anything. Love it when they go. Well, that, folks, I'm going to crank the window back down to me. Moray, do you want to grab the chair and come back around on one side, and we'll close this? Well, actually, I'm going to move over. And I'm running very low. You're not used to these long windows. You're used to these very short launch windows that have like a 1 second. You can actually see yourself now. So I'm going to
Oh, that was amazing. Fantastic.
Did you like that?
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Godzilla did it for you.
Godzilla did it. I can see launches now.
So what did you think?
That was amazing. I mean, like, just makes everything that I came here for so much more real.
It
like,
makes it more tangible.
Yeah,
More concrete.
definitely more concrete.
So let me
That
ask
was
you
fantastic.
this: if you had to, and I always use the term blowtorch in terms of looking into that light, is that an accurate assessment from your viewpoint? It's incredibly bright.
Yeah, it's very bright, and it's like a little, all the smoke that comes up and everything. It's
The
just,
plume?
yeah, the plume.
Did you get some good shots?
Oh yeah, well, I recorded it because my camera doesn't have a big enough zoom lens to get up,
Not like that over
yeah,
there.
it's not the fancy stuff yet. I don't have that yet. So I just took a nice, good pan up shot with the camera, so I can just relive that moment. My first rocket launch. Yes.
Well, we are very happy that this is Amore's first rocket launch. And again, Spaceflight Insider has done this numerous times in the past. We've given lots of folks the opportunity to come out and see these things. We're very hopeful that this will not be this will be a regular basis, because Amore has been great to have you on our show.
Thank you.
You're incredibly knowledgeable about this stuff, and more important, you're passionate. So while this was Amore's first show, I wrote in and tell her, let's not make this her last show. We want her to come back every single time. She's reliable. And she did an amazing job. That was incredible.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
With that, Sean, in California, I didn't mean to insult you, sir. Canada, we're going to let you go. I think the battery just died anyway. Peace. My